Good evening, my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. We thank God for God's protection over us from January to this time. And we want to thank God really because we have experienced a lot of challenges in during the year. And despite all the challenges that we face, we are still moving forward, even to the extent that our senior pastor has declared the year 2022 a year of our uncompromising faith. And that brings us again to character building, which is going to be our main theme of discussion this evening. That is character building in the year of our uncompromising faith. Now we have to ask ourselves, what did King Solomon mean in that Proverbs 10:9 when he said that he who walks in integrity walks securely, but he who perverts his ways will be found out. I will suggest before reading on, we go back again and read what King Solomon said. He said, he who walks in integrity, he said he walks securely, but he who perverts his ways will be found out. In the Bible, we read about the successful life of a man called Job, who had brought up his family, established himself in the business world of those days, and became very successful, as was rated among the greatest of all men of the East, as it was described in Job 1:3. Joseph found favor in the eyes of Potiphar and made him a personal servant, and later was in charge of all Potiphar's household, if you remember. So, as we read in Genesis 35, Joseph, as we read, was very faithful and trustworthy, whether before the workers, or handling huge sums of money, or serving a large amount, a group of people, guests, or alone in the former home with Potiphar's wife. Daniel also comes to mind. He was favored by God before Nebuchadnezzar and all the kings of Persia, and rose to become the prime minister, if you remember. And those who envied him began trying to find a ground of accusation against Daniel. As we read also in Daniel 6:4, they struck out. There was no debt in him, no cover up. After every attempt to dig up some questionable issue, they could not find no ground of accusation or evidence of corruption in him anywhere, as we read in Daniel 6:4. And like Job and Joseph, Daniel walked securely in his integrity. He never feared being found out. He didn't have any escalation in his conduct. So what is it that these men had in common? Perfection? No. Each person I have named was far from being perfect. Easy times? Hardly. A closer look will reveal headaches and hardships that will drive you into a state of despair. How do you think they all managed to survive? Obviously, not before they have acquired high educational degree, or they've acquired or went to business schools of administration, or because they are too religious or too righteous. No. What they had in common was character. Each man I have selected from the scriptures had high moral character. It is easy to overlook that essential ingredient among leaders. In our world today, most of our today's politicians are not like that, running their mouths without any integrity or conscience. Unfortunately, we have grown accustomed to accepting our secretive and deceptive lifestyles as the order of the day. We have heard so often that finding people who value honesty and model responsibilities, who promote fairness, accountability, loyalty, and respect for others, and who hold to strong, upright convictions is not possible. It's not realistic. As one air-headed soul said recently, we are voting for a president, not the Pope. Can you believe that? To such an analogy, I replied, oh gosh. Call me old-fashioned if you like, or idealistic if you wish. But my passionate plea is that we unearth and restore the importance of character. It's been very long ago. It belongs first on our first list when searching for employee in the workplaces. It must be non-negotiable among those whom we place into leadership positions in our schools, in our cities, in our state, in our church, and absolutely in our churches and in our nation. Character is what wholesome parents strive to cultivate in their children. It is what great men or moms and dads look for and long among those their teenagers date. It is the foundational quality that all of us expect from the circle of professionals and laborers who serve us. We may not say it every time, but deep down in our souls, we long for and expect character. When it is lacking, we feel it. We resent it. Character is the giving in greatness. When our senior pastor declared 2022 the year of our uncompromising faith, as exemplified by Daniel in Daniel 1 to 8. It was after reading what was written in that Daniel 1 to 8 that I began that I took more light into what the man of God meant. We will not compromise our teaching in 2022. We will not compromise our messages. We will not compromise our moral standard, and we will not compromise our Christianity. Daniel did not, unlike Job and Joseph, they stood before God as righteous and upright in character. Then, why, may I ask, is character so seldom mentioned? Could it be because most have come to believe that we have no right to expect it? After all, nobody is perfect. And this was the line of argument of one of my mentors, that the goodness in someone should prevail over his shortcomings. As I would have loved to reason with him, as if someone lacks character, he lacks integrity and self-esteem. And such a person cannot be placed in a position of leadership despite all the goodness in him. But God can still use him. God can use anybody. So it is character we require. I repeat, not perfection. From our nation's beginning, back home, when great men and women, albeit imperfect, occupy places of leadership, when public officials exhibited true virtue, dignity, self-mastery, resourcefulness, determination, strength of will, moral purity, personal integrity, and sacrificial patriotism. They were selected and elected because they were examples in public leadership and in private life. But because some have failed to live up to that minimal standard, does not change the idea. Solomon was right. Those with integrity walk securely, with no fear of being found out. If men such as Job and Joseph and Daniel could demonstrate character in the worst of times. You and I say you and I can too today. Let us make the new year 2022 a year of our uncompromising faith in our service to Christ, in our service to the church and fellow men, and in our discharge of the responsibility to our families, friends, and those in authority. And we shall have good testimony to share in the goodness of Jesus Christ. And because we can, we must. Thank you. I wish you all a prosperous new year. May God bless you. Amen.